prepping for our first conference road game, and certainly back to work. So that being said, questions please.
Mario, you mentioned on Saturday that Tyreek was in protocol. I assume that's concussion protocol. Is that right?
Well, we don't disclose exactly what type of protocols that we do have, but he's being evaluated and we'll know shortly his availability.
What were the biggest factors to you in the running game, only producing 42 yards?
Well, I think they did a good job up front. I think some holes we missed, some holes we didn't produce. And then we saw some things in the passing game that we really liked. The quarterback was hot, the receivers were catching the ball, and we were moving the ball. We weren't as productive in the red zone like we needed to be, but we felt that the passing game was working, so we stuck with it.
Speaking on the passing game, Colby Young had a tremendous drive, 3 catches and a touchdown late. Can you just talk about the factors for him, being able to get on the field to contribute and what you see for him moving forward?
Well, 2 things. He's earned it. He's been here not a very long time, so he had a lot of catching up to do, both getting in physical condition and then learning the playbook. But to his credit, he's a tough guy, smart guy who has a super high care factor. But you saw his speed and his strength, and again, his natural ability to catch the football. Made a couple of really big plays, so he has earned himself, obviously, some more playing time. Really excited about him and his future.
Mario, Justice and Ja'Kai, how are they doing? It seemed that Justice's injury was maybe more significant. Are they expected to play Saturday? What's that situation?
Don't know yet, but you are correct in saying that. Justice was seen more significant, Ja'Kai not as badly as him. But again, evaluations, medical and treatment, all that kind of stuff, and we'll know as the week goes on.
Any chance Zion plays this week?
Don't know that yet.
Mario, I was with your radio interview this morning. It sounded like I don't know, challenge the team is the right word, but with 3 losses in a row, how have they kind of responded to just this point of the season, kind of where you guys are at and that kind of difficulties?
Exactly the way we expect them to. We're establishing a certain DNA and a culture, and the lumps that come with it are part of it, and we're here for that. So we challenge our team on a weekly basis, and that's never going to change. We take when we're in, and we're going to be in very tight games, competitive games, and these games come down to details of, you name it, alignment, assignment, eye discipline, communication, right? All those things come into play. Technique, right? A holding penalty can be attributed to being off the ball late, a poor step, poor half position. All of a sudden you got a natural poor reaction, a tug on a guy. Or eye discipline and sometimes, not seeing or not keeping an intent focus on your particular job can lead to a bad play that ends up, hurting you from a win-loss standpoint. So those are the challenges that we're going to keep throwing on our guys. We want to increase our capacity to take on responsibility and obligation at an elite level. And that's what we want to work towards.
In your experience, how many talent acquisition cycles does it take to get a roster where you want it from a talent and depth perspective?
That's for a sit down, that requires a sit down situation. I always liken it to the different places I've had the opportunity to be a part of. We went to an FIU program that was 0-12 and hadn't won a game, and 3 years later won a conference championship. We went to Oregon when they were 4-8, and 2 years later winning the Rose Bowl, being a top 5 team. But in Alabama, where the talent was really coming in, but then it really ramped up. I think that's for a sit down, assessing exactly where you are and where you want to be, because it's 2 different ways. You got to develop the players on your football team while you continue the influx of talent, elite level, elite caliber talent, which I think is exciting in 2 different ways, because we are progressing and certain guys are certainly developing. And then I think it's also very obvious that some areas are stronger than others. So there's going to be tremendous opportunity here. Like, I guess like in the way that history repeats itself, right? Name it, whether it be 81, whether it be 87, 91, 94, 99, right? We feel like we're making progress.
Do you think that the portal can speed up that process at all, or is it still kind of boiled down to high school recruiting and that just takes time?
I think all focus just has to be on the right here, right now. I think recruiting will never stops, right? It goes throughout the course of the season. In the off season, there really is no such thing as a vacation. I think your portal additions, as well as your subtractions, have to be very strategic, right? there has to be a good reason for taking someone that's in the portal, and there also has to be a good reason for facilitating, you know, a guy that you might have on your roster to get in the portal as well, right? It's strictly business, right? You got to make sure you're doing right by the program, right by the players, that you're having honesty and transparency and the kind of conversations that lead to betterment for everybody. But certainly, let's call it what it is, talent acquisition is very different now because of the portal. You see the difference it's made in our defensive line, right? You'd love to be able to have time more than a couple weeks and months to be able to do that, just, you know, broad base right across the entire roster.
Speaking of portal guys from the defensive line, Hakeem Mesidor's having, I think he's third in the country among edge rushers right now. How has he kind of lived up to what your expectations were entering the season?
Well, I mean, we knew he was an excellent player when he became available. We were all over it, and a little bit to your point, I think Miami needs to be a roster full of players like that produce at that level, right? And that's development, and that's continued work, and that's continued progress within our schemes. We have a lot of guys that are getting better. Certainly, he's one of them that's improving, and through recruiting as well. That's the aim, that's the goal. He's a great example for our guys of how to do it, and do it the right way. He's been the best part about him is his toughness. If you get a chance, throw on the film and take a real hard and deep dive at how physical he plays and the effort he plays with. And he has been banged up, he's been healthy, he's fought through all of it, and he just keeps going. I mean, that guy is a true warrior, an excellent football player, and even a better person.
Mario, you guys had a lot of recruits, obviously, at the last game, commitments, and kids that are interested in the program. Just what's been your message to them, you know, after this kind of tough start on the field, and what are they kind of reciprocating to you?
Oh, our message has never been anything but the truth and honesty. You know, we came here to be a part of what we feel is the best program always for us in the country, and certain things we have to build and certain things we're going to get better at sooner than later, and other things are going to take time, you know, but that all focuses on this season, our players. We certainly, if we make it a big point to make sure that they get to speak with our players so they know what the program is about, so they know that the work is real, so they know that the culture is real, so that they know that we are completely invested in making sure that every single day we make some kind of progress towards everything, towards winning, towards betterment in the classroom, towards betterment in them and their future, their development on the field as players, a team, their units, their position groups, all that stuff. So that's never going to change. We're very real, we're very passionate about the University of Miami, and you know, there's a reason that you know, things are going, you know, well in recruiting.
Coach, we've seen Nigel Leak and Wesley, their roles, you know, steadily increasing. Can you just talk about their progress, how they're doing as freshmen?
Yeah, you know, you wish they'd been here a couple of years. Those guys are really talented guys. With some of these positions and some of the opponents you play, sometimes things get a little bit more complex, and they've done a great job taking it in, so their roles will continue to increase, and they're playing faster, they're playing better. You're starting to see some of the things they show in practice, they're starting to show up on the field on game day as well. And then I think I'm proud of a guy like Nigel Leak and Wesley both. Nigel Leak was banged up, right, took a pretty good shot, and you couldn't keep him out of the game. He was right back up, ready to go back in. Those are traits, right? That's the type of DNA that we want to continue to foster and culture and nurture here at the University of Miami.
Mario, how much has the offensive line progressed, and how much are they part of the red zone struggles and goal line situations that occur Saturday? What do you think are the biggest challenges?
Yeah, we weren't good at the goal line. You know, and credit to them, you know, they schemed it up when we moved the fullback over, the Mike plused over, so he was able to shoot to the gap, and you know, that made it a tough run right there. And then, you know, the sneak itself was more of a stalemate than it was push. So, you know, we've got to do better in some regards. And then, for the most part, with as many passes as we threw, they protected the quarterback fairly well. So, we want to improve in everything that we do. Certainly, we want to improve and increase our physicality as it relates to the run game. But there's a lot that goes to the run game, especially when a team does some of the things that they do. There's zone blocking or man blocking or gap scheming that goes with or is tied into a tight end or it's tied into an RPO. And we're out of sync right now. And I don't think it's one particular person or unit. We just got to, like we did with the passing game, and help that get better. We got to do the same with the run game.
Coach, you mentioned Nigel Leak and Wesley. Who are some of the other younger players, such as Jaleel Skinner, who have really started to emerge as you approach the midway point of the season?
Well, I think you mentioned Jaleel right there. You know, he's a guy that continues to get better and better. Great tight end room. Guys like like Will Mallory, Don Momorelli, Elijah Arroyo, they've all done a really good job helping him. Khalil Brownlee's done a really, really good job. I like to think that Colby Young is a young guy because he just hasn't played that much, right? Excuse me. I like to think Rashard Smith is another young guy. Only been in for a year plus and is coming on really, really strong. I guess it could go on and on because I know you guys probably view Cam and James as veterans, but they're only sophomores. So Leonard Taylor is a guy worth mentioning. Really played strong and getting better and changing his body and really committed himself to improvement. So I think guys like that have stood out. And Nez Cooper's going to be a great one. He really is. Trevante was on his way to being really, really good until he got banged up. But we see flashed in Isaiah Horton, challenged him this week to be accountable, to be trusted when it comes to game day. So we'll see what type of competitor we get tomorrow on the practice field, and sure I could rattle off a few more.
Seems like it takes a little while for the team to get settled into a game for both sides of the ball for whatever reason. Is that nerves? Is it just takes a while to get into the game flow?
You always want to figure that out. I wish it came bottled up and you could just pour it out there and you know what you're going to get. So you work on everything. You want to make sure your team is revved up and mentally locked in, but not anxious, right? Anxiety is the killer of performance, peak performance for that matter. So, we really do spend a lot of time on mental preparation, on the psychological side of it. We feel that in so many ways we've improved the resiliency of our football team, but some of the things that come with a slow start, sometimes it's formational, right? I mean, every single time you play a team, there's going to be a wrinkle, right? There's going to be a new, adjustment that may take you a play, a series, hopefully not much longer than that, but sometimes it does take a quarter and a half to get adjusted and play at the level you're capable of. So we immediately get them to the sideline, settle down those eyes, those nerves, and we think the best way always to do that is get right back to focus, to technique, to fundamentals, and to assignment. Cut out all the other stuff. Don't let the mind drift. Social media ain't part of this. This is football, and everything you do on the field is going to make the difference.
A few more facts about Virginia Tech yet. They're 2-4, but sellout crowd's supposed to be there. Obviously, a loud place to play. What have you seen of it?
But we all know the caliber of football coach and football players that Virginia Tech always has. It's epitomized in the way that they're coached and the way they train and the way they're hard-nosed, they're tough, they're explosive. They're in the top 10 in just about every defensive category regarding negative plays, regarding sacks, pressures, third down. I know they're number one in the ACC. So they present many challenges. They move and pressure on just about every single down. They give you all kinds of looks to try to bait your lineman and send them protection one way, come the other way. They challenge you to do a good job. They wire you up too in all your tight run schemes as well as your wide zone schemes. Offensively, they present a lot of challenges because formationally, assignment-wise, and explosive player-wise, they've got a great mix. And they do a really good job attacking the weaknesses of defenses. Last week, certainly, they scored a good amount of points and left a couple opportunities on the table. So we're very well aware of them. We know that they're a really good football team with really good football players. We're expecting a great challenge. 12:30 kickoff, our first test on the road. We got to be at our best. Okay.
Mario, Cam Kitchen's having an excellent start to the year. How have you seen him kind of grow and develop into kind of this leader and this top player on the defense since you arrived?
We want more from Cam Kitchens because he's capable of more. Guys like that, their care factor is through the roof. He is a perfect example of a South Florida football player, product of the city of Miami. A guy that was an exceptional high school player and is doing a great job now at the collegiate level. And his voice has to continue to grow stronger and louder in the locker room and at a very young age. Sometimes it's unfair. When you're a team that's young in certain areas and needs some growth and needs some leadership, it's a little bit unfair sometimes, but it is what it is. Guys like that got to grow. Their presence has to be felt. Their voice has to be heard. It's going to make the team better. It's going to galvanize us more. It's going to push us.
Corey Flagg is second in the ACC for tackle for loss. Talk to us about Corey Flagg and his season tackle.
This last game was one of his better games. He takes a lot of pride in preparation. He's always in there watching film. He always takes the details. He knows that the devil's in the details. Formations, backfield alignments, splits by offensive lineman, wake forward, weight back, heel up in the air, toe pointed outward, splits by receivers. He points them out, he finds them. You see him getting guys aligned if he knows that they're misaligned. You see if there's a guy that doesn't quite know communication-wise what the call was or where they're supposed to be aligned, he gets them lined up the right way. He does a really good job.